Hi, welcome to the 10th Masterclass with the MET Orchestra Musicians at Lessonface, featuring Principal Oboist of the MET Orchestra, Elaine Duvas. Elaine Duvas has been Principal Oboe of the Metropolitan Opera since 1977. She has served on the oboe faculty of the Juilliard School since 1982 and was appointed Woodwind Department Chairman in 1997. I'm Claire Cunningham, founder and CEO of Lessonface, where we connect students with great teachers for live lessons and classes. In this masterclass today, we will have 3 student performance and coaching sessions, followed by a brief Q&A at the end. So please enter questions in the chat box if you have them, and we will address them after the performances. If you'd like to follow along with the music, I'll add a link to the score in the chat for the Ravel, which will be our first work performed. And you may use any version of the Mozart Oboe Concerto and Adagio and Allegro by Schumann, which will be the following performances. And now, Spencer Rubin, a student at Juilliard Pre-College, will play Alborada del Gracioso from Miroirs by Maurice Ravel, arranged for oboe and piano by Elaine Duvas.
Hello, Spencer.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty well. Trying to get a side-by-side of the two of us here. Okay. We can start right away if you want, but yeah, I guess you told everybody where you go to school, and since we work together weekly, I wanted Spencer to play something that we haven't already been over. So he's going to play this arrangement of the Alborada del Gracioso, which was only published a few weeks ago, maybe about 3 weeks ago. So it'll be very fun for me to hear someone else play it. Could we just do a quick check on the fake triple tonguing? Could you try your G sharp alternating with the harmonic fingering? Oh, good. It sounds very much like triple tonguing. You should try to make it choppy and staccato like that. Are all the other ones working for you?
I believe so.
Let's, all right, we'll take them as they come then.
Okay.
All right. Okay, great. Let's work on that section a bit before we go on.
Okay.
You've done a fantastic job of preparing this. It's very spirited and it sounds rhythmic with all of the Spanish rhythms, and I think you're doing a great job with the staccato imitating the plucked strings in the orchestral version. These repeated pitches, of course, are extremely difficult to render at the piano.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to play this
It is.
2 different fingerings approach. And if the reed isn't really up to pitch, then it's hard to get those two pitches to match, the harmonic and the regular fingering. So
Right.
it's a very good reed check, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
There was a wrong note somewhere, and I'm hoping it hasn't actually made its way into the print. And I wasn't quick enough to jot down the bar number. It's I have very little to say about that opening section. It sounds fantastic. I think the tempo's good also. It's not as fast as Ravel's marked it, but I think if one went at 92, that what you gain in speed and virtuosity would be lost in the rhythm. I think it sounds good at the tempo you're doing. Let's start from the low B flats. I love low B flat.
Yeah.
And the wrong note is in the area of it's around 33, 34. Can we look at the pitches there?
Mm-hmm.
Take measure 30, 33. Okay, the G flat carries over.
Okay.
Same in the next bar. Okay, from the low B flats. Okay, good. So we want to keep as much of the undertone as possible out of those harmonic fingerings. So if you can pretend that you're only engaging the top half of the reed, in other words, bite it a little bit more so that we won't get so much undertone. And the swirling scale passage sounds quite good. Are you holding the G sharp and D sharp down together?
I am. Yeah.
Good, okay, I think that's a good solution to that problem. Do you have to take it off for the E, or you keep it down for the whole bar?
I keep it on for the whole bar and then take it off near the end.
So you're playing the E as a pure E fingering, or
No, I think I'm leaving it on for the E.
leaving it on? Okay, well, it sounds quite convincing. It should sound swirling and windy and exciting like the clarinet in Capriccio Espagnole or something. Okay, would you try that harmonic again to see if you can get some of the undertone out? It should sound light.
Okay.
That's great. That's great. It's worth it to chomp on the reed a little bit and keep the undertone out. Okay, I think we can go on to the middle section. Tell us about this jester guy. Can you explain the whole title of the piece? And
Yeah, sure. So the title of this piece translates to The Morning or the Dawn Song of the Jester. It's originally the fourth movement in a piano piece called Mirrors. And the point is to wake up the lovers before they get caught together. And this jester figure is in the Commedia dell'arte, which a lot of Commedia dell'arte plays were popular in Europe in the 16th to 18th centuries. And this middle part represents the jester's soliloquy. It has a mysterious, sad, and mournful quality to it.
okay, I also saw that thing about waking up, warning the lovers in Wikipedia, but I'd never heard that before. So what mood do you want to convey in this section?
I feel as if it has kind of a, like I said before, like a mourning quality, kind of sad, but also mysterious at the same time.
Yeah, it does sound sad to me, like somebody who's left out of the fun.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do. All right, so a couple of the notes in this passage need to be favored upwards a little bit more.
Yeah.
See if you can get your G sharp a little higher
Okay.
and the low C sharp. The grace notes. Sometimes sound good on the beat, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just making it sound more Baroque or pre-Baroque. What else did I want to say here? Can you make it sound more lonely, more like a sad song sung only to himself?
Yeah.
Good. I think that has more atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what can you do to make it higher? Take some
Huh?
lower lip skin off the reed,
Uh-huh.
a little toward the back of the upper teeth or something.
Mm.
I like this sadder approach, and it sounds more speech-like. And in are you muting so that I can be heard? Okay, well that helps too. When we get to the line two phrases away, where the notes have the tenuto marks on them, I don't think these marks mean long. Really, in the hands of any composer, I think it means an individual weight expression on the note. So, D, D, da, da, dee, da, dee, da, 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 da. Give each note kind of a special weight. Okay, go ahead. Try tonguing the first of the grace notes there. Ti-ya-dum, ti-ya. So it sounds a bit Baroque. those that I think need individual weight. On the C sharp and D, the two notes with the lines, could you do something individual on those two notes instead of blowing through them so much? I mean, it would be an exaggeration to say make forte piano, but could you go away from those notes so that they've got some emphatic quality and individual weight and some rhythm? I just put my original sound back on because it turned it off when I left the meeting. All right. Okay, good, let's go ahead. The next part isn't so hard when you're playing by yourself. It's quite hard to put together with the piano.
Yeah.
Spencer, is your original sound on?
Yes.
Okay. Here we have the tenuto mark again, and I'm not getting through about this. Dia, dia, da, dia, la, ra, ra, ra. You have to diminish each one of these. Don't sustain through them. Make sure there's enough mystery and enough sadness and enough you know, that piano interlude sounds so they sound a bit like night music to me, even though it's morning. So let's imagine the early morning hours.
Okay.
It needs to sound a little more vague, I think.
Okay.
Can you clean up A sharp to B? Okay, and
Sorry, can you repeat that?
you use the plate to clean up A sharp to B.
Yeah.
what would the trill fingering sound like? It's still not quite clean. Trill fingering. Then you can make your expression because you're not worried about the fingers. Good. That was a very nice taper, very nice vibrato. Gee, I wish you didn't have to mute all the time.
Yeah, it's okay. Like sometimes it works, but sometimes I have to mute. I'm not sure why.
Well, the solution is we both wear headphones, but
Yeah.
I need it too. Okay, let's go ahead. Sorry, we're not getting the effect of those tenuto marks. Let them sag out a little bit more. They're way too legato toned. They don't have the special expression he's asking here. Dee, dee, dum, bum, 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 ba, 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 ba. Not all sustained. That it's not going to work if you don't clean it out. Sound like you're making it up as you go along and very speech-like, a variety of different attacks. We're almost out of time, so I think you should play us the flashy ending. Why don't you start where the tune comes back, the fast part, like 23? very ringing. A couple suspicious notes, but that's not really all that important right now. We can work that out later. The main thing I would want to say is the fake triple tonguing. Don't blow past the stoppage that you're making with your lips. We've got to get that undertone thing out of there. Sorry, I forgot to use the side octave key. Yeah. The ending's very fast, very exciting. I think it's suddenly too fast, though. I think, again, it takes something away from the rhythm if you go too fast. Anyway, that's really marvelous work you've done on this.
Thank you so much.
And now, Sayang Hong of Manhasset, New York, will play the first movement of the Mozart Oboe Concerto.
Okay, Sayang, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your oboe background, where you live. You're muted.
Hi, can you hear me now? So I live in Manhasset, New York, in Long Island. I was taking a break for a long time playing oboe. So from this summer, I started to begin playing oboe again. So yeah, this will be a great opportunity for me for doing that. Oh.
You have, can anybody hear me? You have a couple degrees in oboe playing that you earned while you still lived in Korea, is that correct?
Yes, I have masters from Korea.
Okay. All right, let's do your Mozart concerto. Okay, good. Good. You have a big sound and a big ring. And what I'd like to work on is some things that for me make Mozart sound like Mozart. People are very picky about Mozart and you get an awful lot of different opinions. But I think everybody should decide for himself what things make Mozart sound like Mozart and what things prevent it. And, you know, there needs to be a certain rhythmic discipline. I think you have nice rhythm in this. It should sound like it comes from the powdered wig era. It has to have some kind of poise and elegance, even if Mozart was a bit of a jokester and a funny man. I like to have my students watch and listen to the finale of The Marriage of Figaro. This is really one of his greatest masterpieces, and it gives you a good vision of all the different characters that he puts into the music. There's some of it that's just deeply emotional, and some of it that's people switching clothes, and it's funny in a way. But we want to bring out this conversational quality in the Mozart. For me, in a classical allegro, the pickups should have a lift to them. Bump ya dum, or bump ya da 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 dum, bump bump bum, not da 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 da, lifted. Could we try that phrase, the pickup to 41? You're muted. Ah, bum ba. Three ways to end a note: da, dum, and dup. How would you sing this, actually? Can you sing me a few notes? You're muted.
I would say done.
Bum ba da 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 dum bum bum bum. I would put bum ba bum. Hands up, and it's tapered tail. Yes, a staccato note. Four are equally short, all four of them the same. After your first entrance, where you're the hero of this concerto, you should come in with a lot of bravura and it's very exciting, and you sneak up on the long-held 4 bars of high C. At this point, 41, bum 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 bum, you should change your voice into something else, something more mischievous, something more jolly. We have to do something with dynamics so that the whole exposition doesn't sound all mezzo forte 16th notes. So let's go back to the beginning, and especially for the shape and length of pickup notes, and to change your voice when you get to 41. For Mozart and for Baroque composers especially, didn't really put all the slurs in, so you're at some liberty to put them in yourself. and especially because there's no manuscript by Mozart for this piece, as you know. I think you should remove a couple of the slurs that you've got in measure 43. When you're in the middle of a scale-wise direction, I don't think you should put another slur in. So, dia-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Don't do slur to tongue to on every beat. I think you should not put a slur in beat 2 or beat 4, because I don't think you should read the middle of a scale. So let's go pick up to 41. Oh, my reed dried up, sorry. We don't want 4 beats of slur to tongue to on everything. But that isn't my reason. My reason is that when you're in a scale, you shouldn't put another slur in the middle of it. The same thing applies in measure 42. All right, let's go ahead with measure 50. You're muted. Two things, Sayong. The low G is your phrase ending, and it sounds too strong to me. I think you should make a nice arch. And gradate down the 3 notes before the low G. Don't diminish too soon. Stay up in those notes so that you protect the low G and tuck it under nicely. This is in contrast to the staccato. So I would play that one more expressively rather than da. Must resolve to the 2nd eighth note. Dia, 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 da. Bum, beat, ba, ba, ba. And don't rephrase in the middle of a scale. At this point, change your voice again. Start back softer so that you can grow through each of the sequences. Otherwise, it just goes on too long at the same volume. And there are no real dynamics marked by Mozart, so you need to make a plan yourself. So I think each time it starts a new idea, you should drop back, develop it through the 3 or 4 sequences, and then start the new idea. So let's go from the last 3 notes of measure 60, starting on high D. You're not looking at me, but I'm counting out these sequences that each one is louder than the one before.
3 measure before 60?
The last 3 notes in measure 60. I think there should be a giant syncopation on dum bum ba dee. It doesn't sound like Mozart to me. Yum bum ba dim bum ba. Dee da da dee ba na dee da 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 dum dee da da. It's that kind of jazzy syncopation I don't think fits well in Mozart. We're still making a very special big accent on beat 2. Dee da da dee ba. Diminish the 2/8 notes and take something off of the volume on beat 2. Not da diadem, it needs bump diadem, bump diadem, bump diadem. Okay, in the trill, indeed for any trill, I think you should get more bottom note than top note. It should be about 2/3 bottom note and 1/3 top note. So if you can sound like you're playing the G and just venting it, keep your finger actually on the key and not play A and hit the key. Would you try that, trill? You're muted. Pick up. On the next page, you know, the strings play this half note rhythm as part of their exposition before you come in. So you have to consult with the conductor about what rhythm you want on the grace notes. I sort of favor an eighth note on the first grace note and a 16th on the second one. Da, ti, ba-dum. The stress always has to be on the appoggiatura, that is the E. Don't let the D be louder than the E. Good. You remembered. I really do think it sounds better that way than slur two, tongue two over and over. Okay. At measure 80, ti-o-tom, ti-o-tom. Again, I wouldn't make a comma after the 2/8 notes because it puts an odd syncopation on the second beat. Dee-um, da, dee-dum. And it goes against the forte piano on the first beat. That's where the stress is. And I think when you see a melody that looks like a triad, that you should number them according to how high the notes are. 5, 3, 1, da da dum dum, 5, 3, 1. I think it's fine for you to slur the first two notes of the scale. Dia da da dia ba 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 da. The slur that I don't like is the one that would be on beat 3. Then the trill, just like the other trill, indeed any trill, more bottom note than top. It sounds like a B where you hit the key. It should sound like an A, more 2/3 of A. You're slurring the middle of the scale again. Like mostly B. It sounds like 80% B, and it should be mostly A. Mostly A. Good. So I think we're out of time today, and it's very good that you're getting back to oboe playing, and you've done a very good job on this piece. See what you think about the idea of not rephrasing in the middle of a scale. The lifted pickups are very important to the style, in my opinion, and what else did I want to say in summing this up? It sounds outgoing, spirited, and soloistic, and we want to get enough variety of the soft and expressive things also, so there's enough elegance. When you were in Korea, what pitch were you used to tuning to?
Usually 442. My reed is today a little bit too high.
Noticed we were sort of in two different keys, and I didn't know if I should bring that up, but I think I will, just because we're all playing alone at home, and if you don't check against an independent objective source, if you just play whatever it comes out of the case, you can get very far off, and then we're going to be in trouble when we go back to playing with other people. Okay, 442 is a common pitch in the USA, so anything between 440 and 442 will work around here. But it does sound a little too high today. Okay, very good work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And now Monica's Song of Seoul, South Korea will play Adagio and Allegro by Schumann.
Okay. Before we start this, it should be pointed out to the audience, in case there are people who don't know, that this is really a French horn piece. And I think there's a lot to be learned by playing pieces that are written for an instrument other than our own. You've certainly heard this played by a French horn. And what qualities of the French horn would you like to emulate?
First, about their volume. Their volume
Okay.
is way broad than the oboe could do. That's my personal opinion.
Yes, the oboe does tend to have a rather limited dynamic range, especially compared with the French horn. So that breadth of tone and the dynamic range is certainly important. But there's a kind of breadth and thickness and nobility of tone that the French horn gets that I think is really a good quality to cultivate in the oboe. Okay, let's go. Very good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. So I think we've solved this problem of having to go off and on. Okay. There are so many beautiful things. I thought your attack on the first low E flat was very well controlled and expressive. The tone sounds sweet, and the vibrato is very singing. There's a beautiful ring in your tone also. The main thing I would like to work on is to identify the stress points and resolve them, because I think the wrong note is sticking out in many cases. And if you just blow a steady airstream, the longest note will stick out, the Fs will stick out, the Ds will stick out. So you have to adjust for that with your air. So in the very first phrase, what is your stress point?
The high E flat.
Okay, but also in measure 2, there should be a stress on the first note of the bar, resolving to the F, and the F, as you probably know, is the loudest note on the oboe. Have you ever seen a picture of the sound with all the spikes going up and down, and every time you play F it jumps up about 2 inches? So when you see F coming, you have to adjust the wind so it doesn't poke out. Then disappear to the third bar. And just dream your way up to the high B flat. I don't think you should bring out that note. I think you should make enough hairpin in the first 2 bars that you can just coast into the high B flat softly. Yes, and you can picture a French horn. You can hear me, I hope.
Yeah.
Okay. Picture a French horn doing that, where it sounds, like a swan going down the river. Very smooth. I would encourage you in measure 9 to play the low B flat. As I said, I love low B flat, but the oboe's range is so small already, I don't think we should reduce it still further. And to be able to play a rich low note like that, as you did beautifully later on in the piece, it sounds more French horn-like. We don't want to have it all compressed into the upper part of the instrument.
I should lower the
Measure 9 should be a low B flat. And my feeling is that we don't really need to have an edition of this piece. You can play it from the original. Just make sure you order one that comes with a violin part, and then the violin will be in the right key, where the French horn will be in the wrong key. But then you should copy the slurring from the French horn part into the violin part, because the violin will have too many bow changes. Okay, let's go from your low E flat, and when you get to measure 9, play low B flat. And it's going to be an awkward slur to the E flat, so play your low B flat with the D flat key if that's an easier slur. Softer on the F, more like a question. It should sound kind of fragile. You fixed the D without me saying anything. Very good. Yes, it's da, da, E, ah. Resolve the E flat to D and then turn it around and make the printed crescendo to A flat. And then again, I would disappear to the next bar instead of stressing the F. D, ah, E, ah. You can highlight something by disappearing, and it fits better with what he's marked.
Should I continue or do this?
Let's go from measure 13, please. Sorry, now the D's too powerful.
Oh, okay.
Put just some little diminuendo from E flat to D, and then make the crescendo. D, ah. May I show you if I can get this headphone off here? Oh, I hate doing this. I still think it can sound more poetic and more special on the last two notes. Could you just dream those two notes? They're too tangible, they're too real. Yeah, I think that will be something special. And then be very careful with your fingers not to hurt the legato. I think that's beautiful. I hope you like that. I think it suits what he's marked also. Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, where's your stress point there?
I kind of push the E and then make the G flat more tense.
Yes, you need a lot of tension and expression on the G flat, but the F is sticking out because it's F. It's just that note is so much more resonant than everything else on the oboe. Try to melt into the F from your G flat.
Should I kind of put a diminuendo in?
Yes. Okay, and show the contrast of these two phrases. The first one is full of anxiety, asking a question, and the second one is so comforting and reassuring. You know, did you know that he originally called this piece Romance and Allegro? So I don't know exactly why he changed it. Maybe people were playing it too fast or something. Let's go ahead. everything. Hold everything. We've got to make that piano subito. In measure 24, again, disappear. It should make people take their breath away. Just pianissimo there. And then in the next bar, the B flat should get the stress, not the long note that comes after it. And before we get to high F, we better try a couple things. Can you just play high F and make a series of throat attacks? It has a little bit of undertone in it. Are you using your third octave key?
Yes, I am.
Okay. See if you can keep the low undertone out of it. Okay, it comes out very easily. All the notes in the third octave will come out better if you don't push really hard right before them. You can almost use two separate pieces of air. So I'm gunning the air at the end of the note before the high F, and then use a slightly separate piece of air. It'll come out smoother than pressing. Okay, good. And it will have to be a little bit louder, but don't blow past your stoppage. Let's go back to the phrase with the sudden piano. Good. I'm just signaling don't play loud on A flat. Batten the 2/8 notes so that the phrase ending doesn't stick out. Good, that's got better symmetry, better architecture. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Low B flat. Sorry. The quarter note belongs with the note before it. It isn't a pickup. Take your breath on the bar line.
Okay.
sorry, I don't think that breath is good either.
Okay.
You can get a good breath before the low D and treat that sort of like a cadenza. And it's kind of a long way to the next breath. See if you can make it from low D over to the A flat of measure 55. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 54. Oh, one more thing. The ending. I don't think you should play the whole notes in the same octave both times. It means you'll have to end on low E flat, but I must say, quite a number of my students said that this piece changed their lives. The demands of the low register, the demands to have a reed that you can really control all the dynamics and not get tired. Many, many people told me that the study of this piece raised their reed making and their playing to another level. This is why I love teaching transcriptions. So let's not make it too easy for ourselves. Beautiful, beautiful. You held it right out and with a nice taper. Okay, let's hear a little of the fast and fiery. Okay, let's go back and work on a few things. We're going to run out of time, unfortunately. I think the first figure, I think all the notes should be equally heard. The slurs in there to facilitate and to make it easier, but it shouldn't sound where we don't hear the second slurred note. I think, in fact, you have to jab it with your wind and say something. So that we hear all of them. All of them. And in fact, would you try it once, tonguing all three notes just to get the idea of equality? Just the first bar. And when you hear a French horn play it, usually it sounds pretty close to all of them tongued. So don't milk the slurs. Play with a kind of choppy wind and try to make us hear all three notes equally. Now up to your tempo. Good. That sounds so much better to me. And then dee-um-da-dee-um-da-dee, na dee-up-da-dee-up-da-da. They have to be longer on the dotted eighths. And see if you can get some of the weight of a French horn in this. It shouldn't sound too surfacey and light. Give it some body weight. good. You remembered everything I said. That's very good. On the next figure, da 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 dum, ba 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 bum. Don't put a slur in it. It'll be more French horn-like if you use the articulation Schumann put for the horn. And fatten that up too. It needs to sound more like a horn. I mean, da 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 dum, ba 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 bum. Unfortunately, we actually have to stop now, but we covered the main theme, and I'm very impressed that you remembered everything I said about the equal staccato. That sounded great. Also, the length and the curve of the dotted eighth notes. Dee-um-da-dee-um-da-dee, because an M syllable makes the effect of a lift without actually stopping the note. It's not dee-up-da-dee-up-da-da. You did it very well. I also like the kind of loose bow arm that you had in dum bum 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 bum. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. It's a pleasure to work with all three of you. We have some questions.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you so much, Monica, and everyone for tuning in and participating in this masterclass, and for your patience with the audio complications, and especially to Elaine Duvas for the inspiring coaching. If you have questions for Ms. Duvas or any of the performers, please enter them in the chat. In the meantime, I will note that we are accepting performer applications for piccolo, trombone, bassoon, and viola for upcoming master classes, and the piccolo applications are due at midnight tonight. I know that we did have some questions that came in earlier, so I will jump back to those. So a question for Elaine: what shaper tip and staples do you currently use, and which ones do you recommend in general?
My shaper tip is a Mac Pfeiffer copy, but I frequently use a straight shaper machine, which is also called Mac Pfeiffer, because I really think it's super convenient to not have to cut off the ears. I'm currently using tubes called Guercio G1, and I use 46 length.
Thank you. Another question: what do you generally recommend for a structured daily practice routine along with suggested time for each category?
Oh, I'm the wrong person to ask about that. Well, my favorite material is the stuff in the beginning of the Vadimekum book, about the first 8 pages of it. I don't have a structured warm-up, never have. Yeah, I'm too impatient for that. I cram. Sorry, it's a very bad example.
Okay, and there's a suggestion from David Allen about a type of headphones that might be useful, open back headphones that allow you to hear ambient sound.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm aware of that. I guess I should invest, but most of the time it goes fine without them.
Yeah, I apologize again that it was so choppy today. This is, I haven't experienced anything exactly like this. But it was wonderful, I thought, hearing everyone and hearing the feedback regardless. Okay, a question from Jeffrey Burgess. Can you speak to the use of vibrato on stress/release points in a phrase?
Ooh, I don't know if I can put that into some kind of a formula. Well, in general, I guess I'm using a wider amplitude of vibrato on loud playing, so maybe on the stress points, and then something narrower in amplitude, something more shimmery on resolutions. I don't know. I've never really scrutinized it to be able to say something that's, well, a formula. Sorry.
A question from Sarah. Which microphone are you using for teaching at the moment?
I'm using a very inexpensive microphone for Zoom. I'm using the one called Fifine. It costs $35. And although I have two much more expensive microphones that I would use for recording, it picks up too much detail for Zoom. It picks up all kinds of surface noise and tip noise and bright overtones that you don't even hear with the human ear. So everybody who's switched over to the Fifine sounds better to me, and people tell me I sound better with the Fifine than I did with the expensive one.
Interesting. Do you have a couple more minutes, or
Sure.
do we need to wrap? Okay. A question from Tyler Rumsberg. Can you please elaborate on what you were talking about for the two different types of air on the third octave notes?
Oh, well, because the third octave notes are harmonics of notes that are a twelfth below, if you blow really hard, you can't isolate the high note out of the low undertone. And so pressing hard between the notes frequently makes the third octave note do a multiphonic. It's much easier if you go ah, he, or second page of Le Tombeau de Couperin, just slight separation, maybe like almost a kind of throat attack on the high note. It sounds smoother. I'm not suggesting an actual comma. I just want it to come out smoothly. And if you blow hard in between, I think it stands a very good chance of producing multiple tones instead of just the high note.
Jonathan King asks, do you have any advice on how to practice performing without any in-person opportunities?
Practice performing with, yes, you make recordings of yourself. Make nice recordings you can put on your website. And, I think a project isn't really quite complete unless you put it down for a statement of, this is where I stand right now, and it'll be better the next time I do it.
Great. Peter Osfer asks, could you recommend any exercises for vibrato? Maybe you did that.
No, in a word, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I stated a number of things as sort of rules today, but I don't know, the more stuff that goes into a formula, the more scared I get in a way, especially the vibrato. It's more the amplitude than the speed that varies, I think. I'm almost afraid to dissect it too much. It either sounds circular and rolling and inside the tone, or it doesn't. So I would just listen for those qualities, mostly recording yourself.
Okay. Do you change reeds during an opera?
Oh yeah, unfortunately. If it's really a long one, I would like to have a pair of decent reeds for each act. I would plan to use probably a different one for each act and a backup in case something happens to it. It cracks or starts to malfunction. Sometimes I don't have to switch. If things are going okay, I'll stay with one, but yeah, you need a lot of backup for a 5 or 6 hour opera.
What's one thing you wish you knew as a college-aged oboe student?
That's the easiest question anyone ever asks me. People skills. I had no idea when I was a young person. I thought you just practice and you learn your audition materials, and if you're lucky, you win an audition, you get a job, and you live happily ever after. And that is just not the way it works. And just as they say that you have to work at a marriage to make it last for a long time, people should really know all the bad things that can happen when you have to sit next to the same people for 30 or 40 years. You have to work at it from the very start, because if stuff goes wrong and you accidentally say something you wish you hadn't said, you really can't take that back. And well, that's what I have to impart. People would rather sit next to somebody nice than somebody great, I think. So, well, that's what I've learned in my many years. I hope I am a better person now than when I started.
Great advice. Janie Gray asks, what are your recording microphones?
I have the Apogee, and that's the one I use for recording. I might want to get another one, actually. I sort of wish I had the Audio Technica. It's a $100 microphone. My Apogee is about a $250 microphone. I'm not that swift about microphones.
Okay, there are a lot of questions still coming in, so if you do need to,
I'm happy to answer these.
Okay.
And it's so nice to see the names of people I know and my old friends here in this chat too.
That's wonderful. Okay, Christian Arroyo Castillo asks, in regards to the French horn transcription piece, how crucial do you find listening to solo pieces for other instruments befitting your oboe style?
Well, as I said, I really like playing transcriptions. I feel like I've improved my playing very much from working on things not written for oboe. I like playing the Beethoven Romance, which is kind of in F major, except I play it in C major. This is a sacred piece to violinists, so I think, I do that mostly in the privacy of my own home. But I love playing the Chopin Opus 3 for cello and piano. I'm always looking around for something that I could play on the oboe. Heinz Holliger recorded the Beethoven French Horn Sonata on English horn, and it's recorded on the flute by Emmanuel Payud, so why not? I played that on the oboe too. It was fun. I like imitating a French horn. In my next life, I want to play French horn.
Stefan Farkas asks, would you share a few of your all-time favorite oboe recordings?
Oh, that just changes all the time. Oh, I even if I could think of one right now, I'd be a little reluctant to say in front of a whole bunch of oboe players. I can't really pin that down, Stefan, but if I think of something, I'll let you know.
Okay, Gabe Young asks for you to describe a perfect read in 3 adjectives.
Up to pitch. I guess in tune counts as one thing. And I guess I mean the high notes. High notes need to hold themselves up so I don't get tired. Flawless attacks that you cannot miss. I do not want to be worried about missing a low note. That's why I like low B flats in the Schumann piece. And C's that blend in with the other notes.
Kazuki Wakao from BSO asks, what do you practice the most?
Reed making. Well, unfortunately, I cram, so I practice whatever it is that I have to do. I get my best work done with my feet to the fire.
Okay. Edward Dusker asks, how often do you go to performances to listen to how your colleagues sound from the perspective of an audience member?
I go quite often. Yeah, and I need to understand how it sounds up close and how the same thing sounds at a distance. Um, I guess I'm saying quite often, but you know, maybe I go to half a dozen operas during the year. Maybe it's, I go to a lot of other things too.
Jasper asks, what allows you to get an expressive start and finish of notes? Is it the quality of the reed or air?
Oh, it's very much both. I mean, but to really be specific about that, I'm controlling a lot of it with the back of my tongue so that there's sort of a hovering, floating feel in my mouth, and the ability to taper something way down. I mean, it does depend on the reed, but then the feeling is like there's a thumb to the garden hose somewhere in there that I can use so little air and keep it alive.
Tara West asks, how important is it to learn circular breathing?
Well, I don't think you need it, but I'm glad I have it. Especially in Aspen, where it's 8,000 feet high. And they say you lose some lung capacity when you get to be my age, but it's nice to be able to just sniff in some more from your nose anytime you need it. I think it's really fun, but I confess it took me about 3 years to really perfect it. And it's so fun and easy for me now that I don't know why it took so long. It's fun. You can learn to do this. What worked for me, I don't even know what worked for me. But blowing bubbles through a straw and sniffing in and out probably won't do it because there's no resistance when you blow bubbles through a straw. You need to make some resistance. So make something like a brass buzz, or go and breathe in and out while you're making resistance and expelling air with your cheeks.
Okay. Donovan Brown asks, what trait do you not see in young oboists playing that you would like to see more of?
Oh, I would like to see everybody become great interpreters. I would like people to go and dig up the source material themselves. In fact, this is one of the main things I wanted to say today, so I'm very glad you asked. Somehow or another, I didn't say it. Don't just do it the way your teacher tells you to do it. If you want to be yourself, then you go to the source material, you research the composer's world, you listen to many things, not with the idea of copying them, but by seeing the range of tempos and how you respond to it. Yes, I would like to see people doing a lot more interpreting on their own.
Okay. Dustin Rimler asks, do you have any suggestions for microphone placement when recording from home?
Well, I'm not really the person to ask about this. I just experiment until something comes out that I can live with. Basically, I've got the microphone about an arm's length and another 8 inches beyond that.
Okay. Thank you. Garland Tillery asks, is there a chance you will produce more Music -1 recordings?
Oh, I hope that means you've enjoyed Music -1. I think that's the most important thing I ever did in my life. I put so much work into the written material, and even though it was 20 years ago, I read it now and I still wonder how I put everything so clearly. Everything I think about music and technique is in there. And I did talk to them about doing some more, and it just never really happened. I think my recording days may be over. I should have done some music that was really for beginners, because the beginner one should be called encores, and the intermediate should be called advanced, and the advanced should be called professional. But there are lots of people producing piano tracks. The thing about working with Music -1 is that they were often successful in getting me permission to record things that are under copyright. And I think that piano tracks that you can now get online, I don't think there's much that's not in the public domain.
Kesley Ferris asks, what is your process for preparing a new opera you haven't played before?
Okay, that's a good and important question. I start with a video that has subtitles. I read the story. I watch the video, following along my part and pausing if I need to write something in the music. The goal is to know exactly what's going on in the story whenever I have something important. And then I go through it again. After I've done it with my part, I go through it following a piano vocal score, because often they'll write in, you know, what the instruments are. Yeah, sometimes they use the full score too if the orchestration's very important. I put a lot of cues in my part. I own my own part for everything because I don't really want to subject all the other people to my pencil marks. But it's the same way I'd prepare anything. Going through it many times, reading the background, knowing the words if there are words, and figuring out how my part fits with everybody else's.
I believe this is the final question. Thank you so much for answering all these questions. This is great. And I should mention that there are lots of bravos and thank yous and what a wonderful masterclass comments interspersed with all of the questions. Cindy Lou asks, when playing a difficult passage, what do you do mentally other than practice that helps you not make mistakes?
I try to imagine an audience to whom I would feel confident playing. And so often I imagine my students, they're very critical. They'll be listening as intently as they possibly can, and I want to make sure I get my interpretation across to them. And the wish to get my interpretation across will keep me from getting too scared about the technical problems.
Well, we did have a couple, like 2 more questions come in while you're answering that one. Is that okay? Or
Sure. No, it's
okay.
fine.
And we should probably say these 2 are the last ones. Julie Beatty asks, what is your favorite performance memory?
Oh, goodness. I would say a different one on every day. Favorite performance memory? Well, I often mention the Leontine Price Aida, which was shown last week, but that might not really be it. I don't know. Just dozens of them are speeding through my mind right now. I can't pick one, but I'll think about it.
Too hard to choose. Janie Gray asks, how do you deal with performance anxiety?
Well, I don't mind saying I take a beta blocker. It's as simple as that, you know? Then I don't have to think about it at all. Such things were not available until I was in my 30s. And I'm used to dealing with nerves in other ways, but it's a lot of extra work. So I just take a beta blocker.
Good to know. Yeah, that's great advice, I think.
Well, it works for me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Elaine and all of the performers. This has been really wonderful. I hope, and thank you everyone for attending as well. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Sunday and that you stay well.
Thank you for attending, everybody. It's really exciting to see your names in the chat, and I'll talk to you later about the whole thing. So fun to see your names there. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you to the 3 performers. You did a great job.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.